Shawahong Shina, Punk and Tushina Shavawaki, Shinamu Kikirani, Tsai Shavakirani, Tsai Makikirani.
15 seconds.
Oh, no.
Yep, that's our guy, Kash Patel, as of course we're very excited to see what he will be doing within government, unless there's an alien invasion. That's what we're going to be talking about here. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we will be going live for the next 2 hours discussing all the latest and craziest news developing right now, as of course there never is a shortage of things to talk about in this crazy, wild 2024 year that is nearly over. And guess what? 2025 is only going to get crazier. As today, we have a lot of wild news about aliens, UFOs, and crazy drones that are coming out of New Jersey and the east coast of the United States that is terrorizing local residents there. What's really going on there? As one congressman has one story about it, and the Pentagon has a different one, while all of us probably think it's a larger psyop here. In related psyop news, there's also a lot from Luigi and his manifesto, as his lawyer is now coming out and saying that he is absolutely innocent, as The Onion also failed its larger takeover of a major independent media company, as ratings at MSNBC are plummeting, as of course that is something that we are going to be getting into full details about in the next 2 hours. So please share this broadcast with your friends and family members. And because you do, we're able to have some of the most amazing people in this world here in studio with us, joining us for this particular conversation. We are very grateful for all of your help throughout the 20 years of my career, for you guys standing behind me, helping me out, and being a part of this independent media broadcast. We return the favor by allowing you guys to be a part of the show. And you could do that just by simply signing up to lukeunfiltered.com. When you do that, you get access to a Telegram channel. We are in that Telegram channel, and people get to call in, be a part of the show. Plus, we do a lot of really cool things. We do 6 members videos just for members of lukeunfiltered.com every single week. And this weekend, we're also doing a range day in South Florida. So if you are interested in doing a really fun pistol class in South Florida this Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern in Homestead, all you have to do is sign up and become a member of lukeunfiltered.com, and we will give you all the details to participate in this larger event that's going to be really fun. First-time callers also get free supplements from wearechange.shop. During the conversation, we, of course, will be doing our best to read any and all super chats, but we will be prioritizing the chats from streamlabs.com, the link in the description, that allow us to have a 3% service charge. We're still raising funds for my legal defense fund since, I don't want to go to jail, and you could still raise some funds and get some limited edition items, all exclusively on SaveLukeNow.com. As, of course, joining us today for the conversation is someone that I've known for a very long time on the internet. We never really met. We never kind of really seen each other until today. We've seen each other far away for so many years on end. You've done so much incredible work, and that, of course, is Mr. David Avocado Wolf. David, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a long time coming. I'm so happy to have you here. For the people who don't know who you are, who are you, and how would you introduce yourself?
Well, this year marks 30 years as a professional in the health field. I'm the son of 2 medical doctors, so I grew up entirely in that world. When I was about 7 years old, I got jabbed with something that was other than excellent, and I became aware of problems with that industry way back then. At any rate, my work has been in the field of nutrition, really working towards a holistic form of healing. And that means body, mind, spirit, and soul. That means every element is, earth, air, fire, and water. It means mental, spiritually, emotional, physical, all levels of healing. And we've been step by step by step assembling a team of really interesting people to drive a health revolution that has finally come to fruition. It's been 30 years. I never thought we'd get here, actually. I never really actually. I think I was like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali said, I said I was the greatest long before I was, and long before I believed it. Even though we fought all those years, I never actually thought we'd get there. We're there.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy times to be in. I know we're definitely going to open up on the health conversation in about an hour on the next free platform where we could discuss a lot of this stuff. But the little that you'll hear, I'm already picking up little things, learning about little things that you have here that you're showing us. You got some of your products behind you as well. We'll get into all of that stuff as, of course, Martha is also here as well. Martha, who are you?
Hey, Luke. Thanks for having me as usual. And I am so incredibly excited for tonight's show. So I'm Martha Bueno, and you can find me on X at Bueno for Miami.
She is the residential chicharrona here.
I don't know what that means.
You don't know what chicharrones are?
Chicharrones.
Yes.
Chicharrones.
Let me mansplain and tell you how to
You're
say
gonna
it.
Well, if you said it the right way, then I would understand what you were saying. You got to roll those R's.
I'm not going to say Latinx. I'm going to make it feminine. Chicharrona. Right? And it makes sense. So our residential chicharrona. We're still waiting for one of our guests who is late. That, of course, is Sean Stone. He'll be here in just a little bit, so he will come in and, of course, join us and introduce us. When he does, Steph is also here waiting to, of course, fully dominate the conversation, take it completely over, make it her own, and not relinquish control at all. Right, Steph?
I don't know about that choice of words, Luke. Let's move away from the whole domination thing.
Take over.
I have a feeling she's going to speak tonight because this is definitely her subject.
Well, I definitely have to say that I'm really excited. I have been watching a lot of your work, David, for a long time. So, I mean, we already talked a little before the show. We've crossed paths in the past. So I'm just super excited. You guys are in for a treat today.
I agree with that.
Absolutely. Let's just get into it because the introduction video showed some FBI officials that really weren't happy about the appointment of Kash Patel, who is going to be the future FBI director if he gets allowed to be in there. There's a lot of other things happening behind the scenes here, but just today, an hour ago, we have the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, saying that he will be resigning before Donald Trump takes office, which of course allows Kash Patel to actually cleanly become the next FBI director without any kind of drama, which is surprising. Kash was just asked about this a couple moments ago, and this is what he had to say.
What's your reaction to Ray's resignation?
We look forward to a very smooth transition at the FBI, and I'll be ready to go on day one.
Day one, as Donald Trump also specifically said that the resignation of Christopher Wray is a great day for America, as, quote, it will end the weaponization of what has become known as the United States Department of Injustice. As Donald Trump definitely has been letting people know how he feels. This seems like a very big transition here, and it looks like we're on course of a big unraveling of one of the most kind of weaponized institutions within Washington, D.C., and that is the Federal Bureau of Investigations. I don't know about you guys, but this is pretty big, and I'm pretty excited about this.
You know me, I'm super excited when the trash takes itself out. It's just, it's so much better. And listen, at the end of the day, we're going to, we didn't have to even wait for Doge. He's just going to leave. This is fantastic. I mean, am I alone on this?
He might be ready to run. Have you ever
Maybe.
thought about it? Some of these people, they are in a lot of trouble. And I'm excited about that. I want to see, this is the problem with our whole society in terms of the government interaction and the way the government works and the justice system or the just us system.
Or the
There's no
unjustice
consequences
system. Yeah.
for people who do bad things. That problem has to be solved. It's
Absolutely.
major trouble.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you're Christopher Wray, you brought up a good point here, David, because if you're him, you're the guy who raided Trump's home.
Yep.
Right? And Trump's going to be the future president of the United States. You understand that, you might be looking at non-extradition countries around the world right now as he might be resigning because he might be running away.
There's only 2 non-extradition countries, and I think that was Iran and Russia. So, Christopher
What about
Wray.
Sarajevo? Isn't Sarajevo?
I'm not sure, but
Still a
I
place?
definitely know those 2. I don't know if there's more, but good luck to him. It's a little chilly out in Russia right about now, but I'm sure he'll survive.
Yeah, I mean, the statements here from Donald Trump are, addressing this, saying the FBI illegally raided my home without cause, worked diligently on illegally impeaching and indicting me, and has done everything else to interfere with my success and the future of America. They have used their vast power to threaten and destroy many innocent Americans, some of which will never be able to recover from what has been done to them. Kash Patel is the most qualified nominee to lead the FBI, the agency's history, and is committed to helping ensure that law and order justice will be brought back to our country again and soon. As everyone knows, I have great respect at the high rank and file of the FBI, and they have great respect for me. They want to see these changes every bit as much as I do, but more importantly, the American people are demanding a strong but fair system of justice. We want our FBI back, and we will now happen. I look forward to Kash Patel confirmation so that the process of making the FBI great again can begin. Now, I don't know if the FBI has ever been kind of great personally with their long record of spying on people and literally trying to get MLK to off himself with fake letters that they sent to him under the COINTELPRO program. I think their record of compromising politicians with all of the things that they were doing behind the scenes with their lovers since the very existence with J. Edgar Hoover highlights a very kind of controversial agency that has, from the very beginning, has always abused its power. Now, I think Kash Patel is the right man for the job, and I think at least now the FBI agents won't be showing up at parent-teacher conferences, won't be showing up at pro-life rallies, and hopefully will be showing up at maybe some of the MS-13 gang outings, some of the cartel outings, some of the more criminal elements within our society, and actually, do the job that they were supposed to do from the very beginning, but they never did. So that's my own 2 cents on this particular matter.
I'm kind of with you on that, by the way. The Federal Bureau of Inside Jobs has always been problematic in my mind from the days of J. Edgar Hoover right on through. I mean, what we heard when we were kids is that J. Edgar Hoover was running around wearing dresses. I don't know. Maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't. But I never trusted him. And this is going to be a significant change in the way things are done or business as usual in Washington, D.C. So I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm very hopeful, actually. I think a lot of people are. And I think we're going to, for the first time, see some real heads roll in D.C.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope that the heads actually roll. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. 2025 is going to be really lit. So first off, Kamala has to sign for President Trump to get into office, and then we're
poetic justice.
I know, and then we're gonna free Ross, and people are just jumping ship already because they know that potentially they're gonna get into some trouble. So I am this is gonna be my year, I guess, 2025.
We've been living, I don't know where you guys are on this whole thing with the U.S. government, but to me, we're living under an insane level of tyranny.
Oh, yeah.
It's an insane level of parasite government. Enormous amounts of stealing, cons, crazy amounts of money laundering. That's where I'm at with it. And to see any of it stop, to see any consequences, I'm happy. I'm going to be as white-pilled as it gets.
Even the conversation about it starts a larger kind of idea in the minds of Americans that can't be stopped. Once we're even just given a little bit of these concepts of saying, hey, the government doesn't have to steal all of your money. The government doesn't have to redistribute it and give it to, of course, rich people in poor countries by taking it away from all the poor people here. The government doesn't have to interfere with your life here. You could actually designate and determine your own path in this life without any kind of bureaucrat getting in there and telling you how to live your own life. That right there, that idea alone, in the minds of the American people, as well as RFK Jr. getting rid of the fluoride and a lot of the poisons in our food and the medical industrial complex being actually recalled, does highlight the larger kind of unleashing of the full might of the American public that is going to be something magical and incredible to see.
So all of that, so you're driving at something that's really interesting to me, which is there is a mass awakening happening. There is a mass awareness occurring, especially of the corruption of government, the dangers of parasite government, the dangers of ballooning up all of these huge amounts of money that are going off to the Ukraine or God knows where it's going. And what's happening is that this is all indicative of a major change happening amongst people worldwide. Maybe it's related to the technology, this instant communication that we have, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just that the people who are being born today, they don't want the stuff of the old days. They're where it's not going to be business as usual. I don't know about you, but I want justice. I know a lot of millennials that want justice. What an amazing thing. Where they're like, I don't care. I don't need to work. I want justice. I'm not going to do that job. I don't like it. I want justice. I'm like, wow, what a change in the tenor and in the feelings of hope in society. So I think we're headed for, I think what's happening, this is my personal take on it. I spent years trying to figure out where we are in the Kali Yuga, this idea that comes from the Vedic civilization of the Dark Age. Are we in a Kali Yuga? Because you know how it was, Luke, how gnarly it's been for us. We've been at this a long time.
Oh, yeah.
There was no hope. I just fought on just because I'm going to fight on until I'm removed from this earth.
Especially during the Bush years when they were able to, of course, destroy the Constitution, torture people, literally take out American citizens, arrest them, detain them, put them in foreign prisons, torture them. It was wild.
I had friends who were in American prisons. I had a friend who was in an American prison in Southern District of New York for 13 years without trial or charges.
Yep.
When they finally released him, no trial or charges, after 13 and a half years, he went to Fort Dix, New Jersey, and they poisoned him and fried his brain.
Wow.
Oh my God.
People
So
forget.
that's how black-pilled I got.
There was major right-wing content creators, people like Ann Coulter, that were literally saying, if you question the events of 2001, you deserve to be renditioned. You deserve to be tortured. You deserve to be, lose your citizenship and then taken away to the CIA black sites, which should continue. That's the type of place that we're in, and a lot of Americans don't remember just how absolutely awful it was and horrible it was, and just how far behind we were when it came to even expressing our own individual rights. There was the Dixie Chicks that came out with a song against Bush. The whole entire media industry just kind of colluded against them, and were absolutely just
they destroyed
their lives.
Yep. Everything. They destroyed those those women. I mean, whether you agreed with them or not, this is America. Don't you have the right to give your opinion and say we don't agree with what the government is doing? And for those that weren't around during that time in the early 2000s, I mean, you could hear those war drums just beating really loudly. It was like, well, we got to go over there and fight, because if not, they're going to come over here and it's going to be horrible. It's like, wow. And we've come a long way.
Absolutely.
I will say this. I want to just mention a couple things. In 1975, so I was born in Ocean County, New Jersey, which, by the way, is one of the places where the drones were spotted today.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be talking about that extensively.
That's an interesting story.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid growing up, our neighbors, they were a wonderful Hungarian family, and they black-pilled us, they red-pilled us, they white-pilled us early on. And one of the things that Mrs. Smutko, our neighbor there, she told me, she was like my age when I was born. So she was like the matriarch of our family in a lot of ways. She said the Democrat Party's ultimate goal is to break down the southern border and flood the country with illegals so they'll be voted in forever. She told me and my brothers and my family that in 1975.
Wow.
And I never forgot that. My little brother never forgot that. My older brother never forgot that. We're all going to be getting together right here in the holiday season, which is going to be fantastic. We're going to be discussing this. And I was like, wow, she was right. Can you imagine? 1975, she was saying that.
A lot of, people from back in the day were seeing everything that was happening, where it was going, the larger plans, because a lot of the very powerful people, a lot of the internationalists, a lot of the globalists were literally bragging about it. David Rockefeller, in his own book, in his own memoir, was literally writing about how his major goal that he wanted to achieve throughout all of his life work was to usurp and destroy American sovereignty. Mm-hmm. And if you look at how things have progressed, that's exactly what happened through, of course, a lot of the plans that they publicly put out there. There's UN, the UN 2030 vision. There's so many other blueprints. There's so many other documents that they literally bragged about. Zbigniew Brzezinski was one of the biggest kind of foretellers of a lot of this as well. He's the guy that, of course, started up, Al-Qaeda inside of Afghanistan, but was also David Rockefeller's right-hand man. And he wrote, especially with these larger clashes with Russia, that he predicted in his own book, in his own memoir, the book, The Grand Chessboard, where he described almost every little thing that we're going through right now, especially with the larger technocratic takeover era of society through, of course, these larger kind of entities that are kind of away from government but have more power and influence than government itself. So,
but I wanted to bring us back to just looking at the overall historical narrative and where we are in it, because I spent a lot of time researching that, trying to figure it out, and I eventually landed on Rudolf Steiner. As you know, Luke, I'm a reader. I've been a reader all my life. When I was about 18 years old, Tony Robbins said, you want to be a leader, you need to be a reader. And I started reading every book I could get my hands on. Eventually, I landed at Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner's stuff stumped me. He left behind 1 million pages of material. That's 50 to 60 pages every day from age 15 to 65.
Wow.
50 to 60 pages, Monday through Sunday, your entire life. Just think about that, of original material. And that really had an effect on me when I got to Rudolf Steiner. And Rudolf Steiner said that the whole thing, basically the Kali Yuga ended in 1899. So where we are right now, and you could see this with like the hippie generation and the way that especially Western Europeans were in the 1920s and 30s, they wanted to come to America to be back on the land, back on the earth. And the whole California culture of that era was driven by this new type of person that was born on the earth that was like, I don't want the structures and traditions of old. I want something new. They immediately set about to stop it. You know what they did with the hippie movement. You know what they've done with many other movements like that.
Well, the CIA played a major role in the hippie movement, especially in the 1960s and 70s.
In developing it and then sidelining it and then, of course, propagandizing it with especially the Manson stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And how they could, they got everybody freaked out with that, and the whole 60 Minutes cult to don't join the Moonies and all of that, those types of things freaked everybody out. But all of that is coming in an age that we're in right now where there's light starting to come in through all the kids who are born who don't want the same things as has happened before and don't want this, they don't have the same values.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And where we're headed for now is we're headed for a light age. It's a long one. Now, in the Vedic civilization, they say the dark age, the Kali Yuga, 6,000 years. But the light age is 24,000. We're just in the very beginning of it.
Yeah, the Kali Yuga's ended.
It's
now.
over.
Yeah.
It's over there. So they're going to start. So what you're going to see, and this is what we've been saying, and I think you guys have been really cool about this because you've been seeing it, you've been talking about it. The evil's starting to lose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to lose. And when it's going to turn into a rout here pretty soon. And they're going to run. And just imagine the wake-up call for everybody out there who was kind of on the fence, kind of like, well, I don't know. I mean, these people really up to no good. They're going to find out. And by the way, I think we're actually going to find out everything. That's my personal philosophy. Anything that was hidden, we're finding it out. Anything they didn't want you to find out about, we're going to see it. Anything they tucked under the rug, it's coming out from under the rug. It's our time.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like there's kind of an unraveling of society, and everything else like it used to work for many centuries on end now is finally being kind of recalled. A lot of people are saying, wait, let's look at the receipts here. Let's actually look at what's going on here. Let's look at, Hollywood, for instance. Let's look at the music industry. Let's look at individuals like Jay-Z and P. Diddy that are finally being called out here. Harvey Weinstein, the Jeffrey Epsteins. A lot of very horrible people have actually been exposed within the last few years, and it's escalating. I've been talking about Jay-Z for about 15 years now, about all of his larger kind of occult connections, all the weird stuff that he's been doing. And right now,
Rockefeller Records. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Rockefeller Records. I mean,
he's literally going out there doing the pyramid symbols everywhere, and I'm like, this dude, there's something up with this guy who's worshiping one of the most evil, sinister families, while of course he's promoting some of the most degenerate, messed up behaviors for the youth of this country. There's something up with that, and I think this larger kind of squeegee cleaning of the third eye, this larger kind of awakening of humanity is happening now. It does feel different. It feels it felt very dark. Before the light came out. It felt very difficult. It felt almost impossible, especially in the Bush years. Obama years were even more of a, are you freaking kidding me? Kind of moment where he was promising hope and change and then brought up the same things that Bush was doing, but he just did it in a nicer PR, more friendly way. But truly, it felt like it was going to be unwinnable. It really did feel like Ross Ulbricht was never going to get out of jail. It really did feel like when I was meeting Lynn, I was like, man, I feel so horrible because there's no chance at all that she's ever going to see her son in person, free, alive again. And I was wrong. And I'm so happy I was wrong.
It is amazing. Miracles are coming. And big wins are happening. And so this is why I've been battling the black pill, right? The cyanide pill.
Yeah.
Is like, look, and by the way, I've learned over the years, I was very lucky when I was a kid. I was on a lot of championship teams, and I learned from coaches somewhere along the way. Somebody who's black pilled, even if they're a great athlete, get them off the team right away.
Really?
Because they destroy morale.
Yep.
They destroy the team spirit.
The energy and the juju as well is affected by other people with who you decide to hang out with, who you decide to be around with. And if you're around a lot of very negative people, that's why, some negative people in my life this year, I was like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be around you. I can't be around you.
You can't be
I
around
can't
it.
have it. Nothing. Well, yeah, something against you personally. But I just can't have it. There's there's so much at stake here. There's so many things at play here. There's so many things that are just so delicate in our kind of modern day discourse. We have to be super careful and super paranoid because the FBI and the intel agencies have been using a lot of very dirty tricks against independent media. We have been targeted. We have been directly under attack. There's a reason we're facing a $200,000 surprise IRS bill out of nowhere a month right before the election.
Me too, by the way.
So
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that you got
the government's really working overtime.
So suddenly I start getting letters. What I did, by the way, for the election, I was like, I got one thing in my arsenal that very few people have is like I'm a pretty good faster, and I'm going to fast and pray every day leading into that thing. So I start the fasting and praying. I fasted and prayed 35 days in a row right through the election, and what a night that was! What an amazing victory! And fasting on water too, by the way. And during that process, about a week into it, I get a letter from the IRS, and it's like, you owe us $72,000, and we've put a lien against you personally. I'm like, out of nowhere, just completely out of the blue. I called my accountant up, and I said, what is this? And he's like, they owe you like $60,000.
Wow.
So this is what we're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
And we're dealing with a level of corruption or the inability of one arm to speak to the other arm, or the parasite government has become so ballooned out. You've got so many bad actors in there at the top positions that they just go after this guy. Okay, Luke Rudowski, let's get him. Okay, let's do this. And just send it to him, see what happens.
Yep.
Now, I have seen in California, my lawyer showed me this. God rest his soul, Barry Rothman, very amazing lawyer. Unfortunately, he left the earth. But he showed me that the state of California would send out from the Franchise Tax Board, which is their state taxing authority, a letter, usually it was around $500, that was not attached to a tax year. So they're billing somebody that's not attached to a tax year $500 because they found that most people will just pay it.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Oh my
Yep,
gosh.
that's exactly what they do.
Yep.
It's so criminal. It's so just mind-boggling when you start to really look into how they abuse their positions of power against people who, of course, speak up. And as we know, a lot of people, specifically, on the right, have been targeted, especially under Barack Obama's IRS, that deliberately went after conservatives, that deliberately went after the larger political opposition to him and his voices, because that's how you cripple people. We're at a phase where it's like, man, I don't know about my economic future. That's why we did SaveLukeNow.com. It's like we're trying to figure this out. We're very persistent. We're still going to be here no matter what. But there's a lot of things at stake here that a lot of people don't realize. And that's why I'm like, listen, I got to focus in. I got to work my butt off. And I can't have any negativity around me. I can't have any naysayers. I understand some people being blackpilled, but I do believe there's a certain aspect of the new black pill that's emerging right now on the internet that is sort of an op, that is sort of a demoralization effort, that is there to, of course, dissuade people from taking part in the voice in the conversation that does matter, and that the Trump administration and the Trump campaign is actually paying attention to. And we have seen instant by instant the internet saying, hey, Trump, what are you doing? This is not okay. That DEA guy, not okay. We don't want him in there. And then Donald Trump says, okay, you got to step down. And he actually does step down.
That was epic.
Yeah.
That was epic. I love just seeing that there's a responsive person in the government. That's completely foreign to us.
Yeah.
We've been so beaten up by parasite. I call it parasite government because that's what it is. And by the way, this concept that it is really parasites that are ruling the world is a very, very difficult position to refute.
Yeah.
And I mean that, by the way, in every metaphor of what that means.
Absolutely.
Are parasites running the world? And the answer is, in my opinion, it's not only a yes, it's a yes in every metaphor, at every level: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, body, mind, soul, all levels. And we can get into that too. That's a Rudolf Steiner thing, because Rudolf Steiner's take on evil's parasitic. Okay, what's that mean? It means somebody who's not able to create anything. Mm-hmm. Right? And then these forces...
Isn't that just the definition of government right there?
Right there.
Yeah.
And then
they're
these
parasites. They don't create anything.
They don't create anything. And so what the government actually does, when you have a system like what has occurred in these big bureaucracies, of which the U.S. is very... is the champion of all time in this category, is you entitle and you empower arrogant, pompous abusers. Mm-hmm. That's what happens. So a pompous, entitled abuser will be put into positions. And so if you start to really think about that and really meditate on that, you start to go, like Kamala Harris, if you look at her behavior and you look at her history, you go, she's a pompous, entitled abuser. And you just go down the list, right? Look at Biden. He's a pompous, entitled abuser. At every level, all the way through the government, you see this.
Look at all the government agencies. It's just IRS abuses, I'm guessing the people there
The
are very pompous.
DEA, the ATF, all of these government institutions just take away from life, from prosperity, from individuals being able to live their lives in a free, coherent way.
Yep.
Someone just tweeted this, and it was the Right to Bear Memes that posted, this is Kamala Harris advancing her career in San Francisco, and they're showing a screenshot of the woman that just slept with over 100 dudes in one outing, showing just the devastation on her face there, which is, a big extraordinary kind of claim to make here, but when you look at a lot of what was done here, it's pretty damn true. And it's pretty damn kind of indicative of the way that the government works and the way that they kind of exist. Tucker Carlson likes to describe a lot of what's going on here, particularly in the interdimensional world, as these kind of beings that exist, that do interact with the federal government, that do work with them. I don't know if you have any kind of understanding about that particularly, because I had a lot of conversations with him about this specific issue, and I find this topic very intriguing, very interesting, and it does explain a lot of what modern science can't explain, especially when it comes to this kind of spiritual, energetic, atomic world that we're all a part of, that is affected by things that we cannot even kind of describe or fathom.
Wow. Okay, let me just take you back 30 years. 30 years ago, I saw Hannah Kroger speak. She was a parasitologist, really amazing. I think she was German, but maybe Austrian, but she had that strong German accent. And she taught us two things about parasites that I remembered and that stayed with me and transformed my life and just made me anew, actually, and are very potent and pertinent right now. One, that the worm is the virus factory. The worm is the virus factory. If you get the worms out, this is number two, you'll never be sick again. And so I put that to work for 30 years. And then all of a sudden comes the whole pandemic stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then all this stuff about ivermectin, which is a dewormer.
Mm-hmm.
And how they demonize that dewormer.
Yeah, and I started going, what do you know? Look at this. And it just, over the years, I got religious, Luke, about detoxifying and parasite cleansing. Yeah. And I do it 4 times a year. That's why I'm able to do the long fastings, because I'm religious about it. It's like, it comes to that day, it's like, okay, food's off, parasite cleansing's on, and if you want sovereignty, you've got to drive off the unwanted guests out of your body, because there's one thing that we have figured out about parasites, and that is they want control of your mind. The metaphor is precise, by the way. The exact way that you see these bad actors take control over the top of the government, the top positions, is exactly what parasites do. And it's exactly how dysbiosis is created, by the way, in your microbiome, your gut microbiome. It only takes a few bad actors, a few types of E. coli, a few types of yeast, and the whole regimen of your probiotics will turn bad, 60, 70%. Meaning you don't need a whole wave of bad actors coming in, harmful bacteria, for example. You just need a few things, and it will flip the whole script for your regimen, your farm, your organization of friendly bacteria, your microbiome. It'll flip them all bad. So that means, if this is the metaphor, and a very important one, if we get the right bacteria in there, let's say Reuteri or Bifidus infantis or Acidophilus, and we get those right to the top again, it will straighten out everything below. Does this sound familiar? Mm-hmm. You catching the metaphor?
Sounds a lot like what's kind of happening politically and socially right now. And also economically, as in the making of this video, Bitcoin is also surging, as we're getting reports now that it was above $102,000. As really, things in our society are transforming in such a very fast way, and it's beautiful to see. And it definitely does look like a lot of that bad parasitic bacteria is finally on the way out.
The crime spree is ending.
Yes, the infestation of the nastiness and disgustingness that throws our life and our kind of energy, some people say it's juju, out of balance is finally now being kind of cleaned out through sunshine, through disinfectant, through light.
Are you saying that it's the best day ever?
I'm pretty white pilled. I'm super white pilled, and it was, listen, a lot of what happened this year was very close to turning very bad. We were so close. We were just like
They certainly tried.
millimeters away from the world being completely different. And I think right now we are at a specific moment where a lot of this kind of very parasitic, nasty, disgusting bacteria is kind of freaking out because they're on the way out. And I think this is why we are seeing very desperate moves being made right now in Ukraine, why we are seeing the crazy Luigi story, and why we are also seeing this crazy UFO story that's coming out of New Jersey and the East Coast of the United States, which we were waiting for our second guest to come in on to, of course, fully discuss in a full way. We wanted to save this topic for you, Sean Stone. Sean, thank you so much for joining us. Bring up the microphone. Great to have you here. For the people who don't know you, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
Who am I? That's the question everyone has to ask themselves in this life. I would describe myself as a filmmaker. I've been a media host and author. I also do like spiritual work and practices. Just sort of, I am me.
We've known each other for a very long time, and we've interacted and hung out for like 15 years now, I think.
I met you around Occupy Wall Street, actually. So that was 2012, wasn't it?
So that was way, way back in the day. So it's great to have you here. I haven't seen you in a while, so thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. I wanted to save this specific conversation just for you because we were talking about how a lot of us here are on the white pill and how very symbolically a lot of this kind of nasty parasitic bacteria and this rot in our society is now finally being recalled. But the intelligence agencies I think are going to be doing some tricks between now and between Trump's inauguration. And I think one of those tricks could involve aliens and drones and UFOs and potentially even Iranians, as we just had
aliens.
Yes, Iranian alien drone
So
UFOs
not illegal
all at
aliens.
once.
Not
No,
illegal.
all at once. It's the quickening. They're getting so desperate. They're like, well, let's just combine it. Let's just make these UFO aliens Iranians now. As it looks like that's exactly what's happening here. We have a clip here now from Fox News that was just interviewing a congressman that is now claiming that Iran has stationed a mothership off of the coast of the United States and is launching drones that are terrorizing local populations in New Jersey. Here's the clip.
In focus now, Republican Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, member of the House Judiciary Committee on the Hill right now. How do you address this at this point?
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Now, we know there was a probability it could have been our own government. We know it's not our own government because they would have let us know. It could have been some really glorified hobbyists that were doing something unbelievable. They don't have the technology.
Yep, it's the Iranians that very conveniently are also being blamed for the assassination of Donald Trump. They're also being blamed for hacking Donald Trump, hacking Kash Patel too, and then releasing his secrets to, of course, the corporate media right before his Senate hearings. That's also very convenient for the Iranians to pull off there. And now an Iranian mothership off of the coast of the United States terrorizing local citizens. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not buying it. What do you guys think?
Well, the word mothership, I mean, come on. That's... What are they trying to do, right? They're trying to do what you just said. They're trying to drag that kind of, okay, we can't get the fake alien invasion off. Okay, a drone invasion. Let's freak them out with that. And just the way he said, like, well, the government would have told us. It's like, oh, man, what program are you in? Where have you been all your life?
I picked up on that, too. It's like, really? The government would have told us? Right. That was great. I love that one. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. What about you?
I think I saw a UFO in Iran, actually. It was kind of interesting. I don't know if it's off topic.
No, please, go ahead.
So I was in Iran at like 3 different times back around 2011, 2012. And one of the times we drove across the country, and while driving in the course of the night, there was a crash, like something flew really fast and high in the sky, very, like just a light, just. And the driver and I looked at each other and we're like, "Did you see that?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, all right. It felt like a UFO. I mean, I've seen both. So I'm a big believer that we have a secret space program, and various stuff I've done over the years, like the Buzzsaw show. We talk to people like Richard Dolan and others, who Catherine Austin Fitz, or
she's great
of this, right?
Yeah.
And with the secret space program, basically is that. Remember, when was it Gary McKittrick, something like that? Remember that kid back in he was the British kid. Gary,
he was the guy who hacked into the
Navy
and
he
got
things.
the off-world ships.
Yeah. He hacked NASA. He hacked a few things. And Gary McKittrick, you could look it up, McKittrick or McKinney. He was in England. He actually got arrested for this, but he leaked a couple of the images that he hacked, and they showed cigar-shaped craft above the planet. So it was like imagery from space. Now, of course, the flat earthers are like, that's all fake and make believe, but it's very consistent with what people see. People see a lot of cigar shape. They see the three triangle craft, right? Over LA one night, I saw around 2 a.m. a craft that was not a plane, lower above the city, but moving very fast, just like a stealth bomber. But it wasn't a stealth bomber, clearly, right over the city. So I think we have a secret space program where some of these craft that look alien are actually coming from our own, underground bases. People like Area 51. If Area 51 was probably operational like in the 50s and 60s and 70s. I think by now everyone knows about 51. They don't have, they're not reverse engineering alien tech like they were back in that time period at 51. But they've got places in Utah. They've got all across this country. There's deep underground bases, right? What was I watching recently? I was watching some movie, Andromeda Strain, where they actually show you in that film in 71 a deep underground base where they're doing work with the virus, and that's hundreds of feet, if not thousands of feet deep into the ground. So we have all these technologies that are not disclosed. To your point, the government's going to tell you, yeah, sure. The government doesn't even necessarily know. I mean, you're talking about different classification levels for a lot of stuff. People are like, "Oh, well, I worked in the government. I never saw you alien." Oh, great, yeah. So fuck you. Sorry, because you didn't see one. Like, what does that tell us? It means that you just lack the security clearance to actually know about these projects, and that's where I think something like this Mothership probably comes from. And it's not Iranians that are just. What are the Iranians trying to achieve by parking a Mothership over Jersey?
Yeah, the Iranians can't deal with Israel. You're telling me right now they have been able to, of course, terrorize people in the United States with drone technology. They have advanced. This is why I'm very happy I waited for this topic until you actually got in here, because you have a huge wealth of knowledge on this. We got the article pulled up here. How a Brit hacked into NASA for proof of UFOs and found alien spaceship photos. Gary McKinnon claims to have found thousands of files hidden on NASA's systems, including one of an alien spaceship. So, yes, this conversation is real. I remember I interviewed the former head of the Canadian Department of Defense, and he came out and in great detail described how there's actual aliens out there, how this is actually real. And there were a lot of government officials kind of all over the world that said very similar things to what he said. And they kind of said it in unison in a very kind of strange, unorganized way. And I found it very fascinating because this concept was first ingrained into my mind when I was reading William Cooper's book. I was 13, 14 years old. And in the beginning of this book, he specifically describes a craft that was able to, of course, go underwater and into space without even being, bothered by this kind of larger physics that usually would affect craft from moving in between the two. And he was talking about how these huge satellite dishes were just moving around, zipping around in such an unnatural, not organic way. That's something that we have never seen before, and everyone called William Cooper crazy. And now we have literal scientists, government officials, and people within the government coming out saying the same thing right now, which is pretty crazy, which is pretty wild. Someone in the comment section said Paul Heller. Yes, we have an interview with him on this particular YouTube channel that you guys should watch and then make up your own mind here. But a lot of people right now are saying, hey, I think there's a reason we're hearing about this now, because it could be the perfect distraction. It could be the perfect way to throw off Donald Trump and what he's trying to achieve and what he's trying to do with his future administration that will radically change the face of government, especially the face of the intel agencies that have a lot to lose and have a lot of things that they could be held responsible for. That's my own kind of speculation here, that I think this is why we're seeing seeing such larger conversations played up now more than ever.
Yeah, well, the escalation towards Iran is very clear, especially with the Syria gambit. So, as you know, I mean, the Syria thing was going on since 2011, roughly, or 2010-11 time period, and it was mostly, I'm sure there was some authentic grievance with Assad. For the most part, Syria was the largest middle class in the Middle East until we started this, coup essentially against him and started fomenting all these jihadists that we especially brought from the Libya battlefield, remember? And my new series, All the President's Men, which goes into pretty good detail on these different topics about this first coup against Trump through his first administration, going against people like General Flynn and Page, Papadopoulos, Roger Stone, everybody as is, these guys, Luke, that were close to him. But a lot of this had to do with the fact that post-Libya, they had been doing the arms supply. The Benghazi, obviously, terror attack seems to have been part of this issue because the arms were being shipped from Benghazi and also jihadists to Syria. And then, we create ISIS from that, and all these different, terror groups are popping up in Syria. So Trump didn't really go all in with the Syria gambit initially. And I think that was why at this point, right before he comes in, they made some kind of deal, it seems, and maybe Trump is part of that. I don't know, but it seems like some kind of deal was cut to basically say, okay, Russia, we're gonna make peace in the Ukraine. Step back, because fundamentally, between Russia and Hezbollah, there's no way that these guys could have pulled off this coup against Assad. It had to be a number of factors, basically saying, look, we've got Hezbollah's already at war with Israel. Like, okay, let's cool those conflicts down. Syria's gonna, Assad's gonna go, but the problem with this Assad going is that when you destabilize Syria, which is now happening, and hopefully it doesn't become Libya, but it very much could be that kind of situation. Syria is an ally of Iran. Iran is obviously not going to be happy to have that kind of instability, on their border, the same way that they didn't like it when we had the instability in Iraq on their border.
And Afghanistan as well.
And Afghanistan as well, exactly. All these countries surrounding Iran. So you see this potentially as playing up a conflict with Iran that they're going to try to hand to Trump, knowing that, okay, we couldn't get him to play the anti-Russia role, which obviously he's not going to buy into. My only hope is that because if we can get to a place where we stabilize relations with Russia, that's, I think, key to stabilizing a situation with Iran and the Middle East in general. Because as you know, the Middle East is this, is this playground basically where the neocons have been destabilizing and feeling like they want to have the major influence, but they've been losing that, and I think they're trying to obviously go for this Iran gambit ultimately. And I'm very nervous about what happens. For, the same way that Iraq was tough for us, Iran will be much more of a disaster. They're much more advanced technologically, militarily, population-wise than what Iraq was.
Absolutely, and I think the intel agencies are kind of creating a situation where they're going to go to Trump and be like, look, they're hacking you. Look, they tried to take your life. Look, they're flying all these drones. It's time to act now and look tough against Iran. And I see the PSYOP kind of happening in real time. Will he fall for it? I don't know. We were playing a clip yesterday from Julian Assange that specifically described how the CIA went to Trump and said, hey, Trump, we're going to overthrow the Syrian government. And Donald Trump said no. And if you look at Donald Trump's actions when he was in office, he specifically didn't help out the Wahhabists, the jihadis, ISIS. He went after them and joined Russia and Iran when it came to fighting them on the ground there, which severely pissed off the CIA. And I think as soon as Donald Trump was elected, all the people at the CIA were like, well, if he's going to be in office, we're never going to get Syria. We got to go for Syria now. And I think they organized a larger coup there. And they worked with not just Turkey, not just Israel, not just Saudi Arabia, but we're talking about Uyghur Muslims from China that participated in the fighting, Chechen fighters from Europe that participated in the fighting, Russian Muslim factions that participated in the fighting, that specifically overthrew and with satellite technology, probably from the CIA, knew exactly where all the defensive positions were for the Syrians and attacked in such a way where there was even a high brass of the Syrian military that were bought off that literally just stood down and walked away. There was no major battles. There was no major fight. And now Bashar al-Assad is in Russia right now, according to a lot of the reporting that's coming out there from the Russians even themselves. And it definitely does look like this was a very fast move. I don't think this was a deal done with Trump. I think this was a deal done to prevent Trump from being able to implement his policies from everything that we know that has happened beforehand. And that's a major deal. And I think now that's why we're having all this weird alien talk. So you just heard from a congressman from New Jersey, and the Pentagon came out and now actually denied a lot of these claims.
We have, in all our time on Earth, in our lifetime, we've never heard a congressman from New Jersey say the word mothership. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see the congressional hearings on the aliens?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Back in the day.
No, recently, right? It was a
C-SPAN
few months
stuff.
ago.
Yeah.
I caught pieces of it, and to me, we should get into the alien abduction stuff for a second, because that's kind of what my track of information came down my pipeline, and the alien abduction stuff. You know, I've met people who have been through it. I've read the books. I knew John Mack back in the day before he died in a very bizarre way, run over on the streets of London. And there's something to it. Now, I come at it from a flat Earth perspective. I don't think we're on a ball spinning around, but I also don't believe that we're just alone sitting over here in some, the middle of nowhere. And I also am more into the what do they call it? The crypto alien phenomenon, which is that they're from here. They're not from somewhere else. They're actually from here. That's another angle on this as well. And then also we can tie in the whole demonic angle too. That's something that's in play as well. And you had brought that up earlier, Luke, about demons. And this is, the Taoist theory, by the way, about parasites has been that they're demonic. And that's a very important piece of the puzzle. If you start digging in on parasite behavior, you'll start finding out that they start to influence your mind.
Absolutely.
They influence certain actions. They can cause you, for example, T. Gandhi, right? Can push you into doing things you wouldn't normally do, or very dangerous behavior. That's one of the most well-studied parasites of all.
Yeah,
like
toxoplasmosis.
T.
Kind
Gandhi.
of like the mRNA vaccines. Did you see the recent study showing, I think it was from South Korea, a massive study that's showing that it actually does affect the neurology?
Yeah,
Oh,
doesn't it
interesting.
make you like do more? What was this like? Take less precautions on
More risks.
More risks. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't remember the details of the exact actions, but it was just saying that if definitely, like based on 4,000 people or whatnot that they looked at, that they had neurological effects.
Like cordyceps, like the mushrooms too. There's
Yes.
several things that can take over.
mRNA shot or mushrooms, take your pick.
That's why I'm here. We definitely have got to start eating
You guys want a
medicinal
micro-
mushrooms, folks.
You guys want a microdose?
I've got
I mean,
some really interesting.
Yes, I do.
Let's do it.
This might be a very wild show.
We don't know where it's going to go
Listen,
from
don't
here.
threaten me with a good time.
All right. Well,
That's the way we like it. We definitely have a very awesome cast today that definitely is outside of the box thinking, which we love, and I think is important to especially talk about during these greater shifts and changes in our society that are happening right now. Because I think the ideas that you were bringing up, David, they're not out of the windows of possibility. Just a couple years ago, if not months ago, people would say, no, that's crazy. But with the way that things are going, with this kind of quickening, with this kind of, exposure to everything that's happening in this world right now, I think we are seeing all facets of possibilities being laid out in front of us. And who knows what the larger truth is, but I think we're getting closer to it than we ever have been.
Yes. And so I call that an asymptote, actually, right? Like you can't really actually get to the truth. You can just get closer and closer and closer. And what's beautiful about that is there's always something around the corner. There's always something that's just going to pick your curiosity and get you fired up to investigate. And to me, that is proof of an intelligent design. It's proof, right? It's like, how could there be such a mystery sitting around the corner? But there always is. And it's always something that's inexplicable. Like the alien abduction phenomenon. I mean, it's one of those phenomena that's just, like the guy sends me his book. I'm like, how did he even know about me? Why did he send me this book? And it's his alien abduction book about his life story, about being abducted by aliens his whole life. And knowing my history, he didn't know my history about John Mack or any of the people I'd interviewed over the years, none of it. And there it shows up. So I'm like, okay. Higher power's trying to get a message through, I guess. And there's all these interesting phenomenon going on Earth. So to me, this world is incredibly interesting. Absolutely fascinating. But I'll tell you what was really the best insight I ever got over the years of reading all those books is that this world that we're living in, this realm that we're in, this dimension that we're in is not entirely rational nor irrational. It's not entirely logical or logical. It's not entirely illogical or logical. It's both. Everything is both. And so, for example, let's say I start pushing in like a flat Earth story, right? And I was like, okay, it's flat, this and that, and I come up with the model, and okay, here's the ice wall and all this. Well, I can also show you evidence that that's not correct.
That's right.
Whenever I try to push something in too much, then I have to deny something else, and that's not getting us closer to the truth. That's Charles Fort. That was his amazing insight. So in order to get closer to the truth, we need to take it all in, and we don't discount anything. And instead of believing in things, we entertain possibilities instead.
Well, if you think about the nature of reality as an experience in consciousness, there is no physical reality. And if there is no physical reality, and actually I think the Nobel Prize, like even last year was talking about this, there's no objectively real universe.
It's in our minds, right?
There's no objectively real universe. There is nothing. It's an experience in consciousness. And so towards that end, there is no limitation when it comes to mind. And if there's no limitation that comes to mind, then there's no limitation when it comes to this reality or experience of what we call reality, right? And as you said, that's why, I mean, I look at things even like the Kennedy assassination, and I literally could see it from 6 different perspectives of all being potentially true, including the theory of what's his name?
J. Edgar Hoover?
No, our friend Jay from Gaia, who did the JFKX documentary.
Oh, Widener.
That Kennedy faked his death. Because of last week, they announced that Kennedy did a video 2 months before he died, where he did a movie. Did you see this?
No, I haven't seen this.
You guys didn't see this on Fox that was reporting about this.
Who watches Fox?
I don't watch news. Things come to me. As you said, in consciousness, things always arise when you're meant to receive it. 2 months before he passed away, Jackie went to the Secret Service and said, "Hey, can you help us? We are doing a little home movie, and we're going to have Jack, pretend to get killed."
What?
Look this up. And
man.
And they made a little home movie with their friend where it's like a James Bond style, and Jack gets shot, and they didn't show the video. Now, I don't know if this is just because it's inappropriate or whatever. They didn't show the video, but this was basically the Secret Service were like, yeah, we were there to stage this little movie that they shot.
That's
of him staging his own death 2 months before the assassination.
I want to just mention a name came to me that has some really good information on this perspective, which is Miles Mathis. You guys remember Miles Mathis?
Yeah.
Now, his take on the Abraham Lincoln assassination is really something and worth if you read what the story is about Abraham Lincoln's assassination, it don't make no sense.
What do you mean?
It's like a 9/11 story.
In which aspect, though? Of an actor getting being able to approach without...
I'm trying to think of the details, but one of the details was that John Wilkes Booth was 8 feet below or 8 feet above Abraham Lincoln. And he couldn't have gotten the shot off correctly. It was like that. He goes into that.
So he wasn't on the balcony. He wasn't right behind him, as all the depictions are always showing him right behind Lincoln in the balcony in his
there's
suite.
Problems from that point all the way through. And I just referenced Miles Mathis because when you actually read the whole story, you go, this don't make no sense. And it's just the same thing. He goes into the Kennedy stuff. He says Kennedy faked his death. Now, I'm not saying I believe those things, but there are things, especially with the Lincoln assassination, that I was not aware of, and that really kind of, I was like, what? What's this?
But it gets to most of the. I mean, Tupac, did he really get killed? Or was it a fake to death? Any number of these celebrities, is a clone.
But if it's faked, where do they go?
Right.
But that's the point. Like, what exactly? That's always what I say. It's
when I fake my death, I'm going to Peru.
Where do you go hang out?
You're not supposed to tell everyone, David.
Oh, sorry.
What are you doing here?
I mean, you've been with Kanye. A lot of people think Kanye is a clone now.
Yeah, Kanye was a very fascinating figure to be around. Granted, I didn't spend that much time with him. I spent 6 hours with him. Very weird. We have a portrait up of him on the wall there that was signed when he was on the show that I was on, and he didn't sign it, but my friend Michael Malice did. We have it up there. You'll see it later. I'll show you. It's one of the little Easter eggs we have here in this house. We have a lot of little Easter eggs, art, and really funny stuff all around us. But no, I mean these conversations I think are absolutely worth having. There's a lot of speculation about a lot of different things, but I think just to kind of hone it back into to the larger discussion of what we're talking about right now, I do think something is fishy, absolutely, with this UFO story. I think the congressman saying one thing, the Pentagon now saying this thing. I'm going to play the clip just so we can get everyone's reaction here from the news that just broke a couple minutes ago with the Pentagon announcing this.
Representative Jeff Van Drew, who is a Republican from New Jersey, was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the coast of the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that. There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
Yes. Then who is it? As of course, I don't know about you guys, but my social media feed has been inundated with aliens for the frickin' past 2 weeks. And there's a lot of very strange videos that have been popping up, specifically on Twitter. A lot of people also reporting a lot of weird instances that were happening with them. We got another statement from Northern Command that just came out, and they say that they conducted a deliberate analysis of the events and in consultation with other military organizations and interagency partners. At this time, we have not requested to assist with, quote, these events. Again, it's a statement. That's a non-statement. But again, lots of different videos, some of them fake. This one is fake. It's a time lapse of a sunset that people were sharing around and saying, look at the aliens. No, it's just a time lapse. But again, there's other videos that just keep being shared and shared around, and I've just been inundated with this stuff kind of nonstop. I don't know about you guys, but it definitely does seem like there is some kind of larger kind of implementation of ideas into the mind of the American public surrounding these ideas. Where does it go? What's the long game here? What do you think is the plot around all of this?
God, that's a good question. I was just thinking back. There was a couple things. By the way, you were asking me about the weird stuff about the Lincoln's assassination. The guy who actually shot John Wilkes Booth cut his balls off.
Did he really?
Yep. It's part of the story. And you just go, what? Like, what the hell? Yes.
Why would
look
why?
into it?
Like,
it's a crazy story. He was in the U.S. or the Northern Army and this and that. It's one of those bizarre things, and there's so much bizarre stuff like that that's been sold to us that you just go, what's going on? But I think what you're getting at, Luke, is that they're interjecting this is because they want to, it's like a cover story. There definitely is something going on with whatever aliens. I'm trying to think of a particular incident that happened to me one time is I went and interviewed an alien abductee, Riley Martin, very famous one. I recorded on 2 USB drives. It was over for maybe 3.5 hours of recorded material. And it was like, what are the pyramids? What are they for? When were they built? Who used them? Everything. I went through everything. Start naming off free energy devices. He starts naming off free energy devices, one after another after another. After like 20, I was like, okay, go back to number 1 and lay it out for us. This is a sharecropper. This is a black guy who never had an elementary
Sounds
school
like
education.
you're talking to ChatGPT.
It was like that, and we recorded it all. We listened to it on the drive. This was in Wayne, New Jersey. We were driving back to New York City. I was living in New York City at the time, and we listened to it. So it was recorded. We went to Pure Food and Wine, our favorite place, and we recorded there. Then when we got home, when I put that drive into my computer, now it went into Nick's computer, no problem, but when I put it in my computer, they blanked it on all all
Oh
What?
no!
That
So you
actually
lost it.
happened.
You
Yep.
lost it all.
That actually.
I
The
had a very
files
similar
were there, but
story.
suddenly they were 0
I had a very
kilobytes.
similar story. I was working on a story about pyramids in Peru, and specifically the ones that the Peruvian government doesn't want people to talk about, with the elongated skull people
Yeah.
as well. And I did a full, in-depth, like documentary style filming of this entire incident. I come back to the United States, all of it gone, all of it deleted, and I'm like, what? Where did the video? What? I'm like, I can't. I don't know what the hell happened.
Like those are the Paracas mummies, like
Yes.
that whole thing.
Yep.
And like your video and audio
everything,
gone.
everything.
Sometimes the simulation's just not ready for that information to be released. What can I say?
I think that's right. But what I think the government tries to do is because they know these phenomenons are real. The phenomenon is real, so they try to use it as a cover story to get away with whatever their little crime is. So, let's say they're testing out drone technology. Oh, it was aliens, and so they interject it by pushing the social media algorithm thinkers into, and there's a lot of CIA and social media companies, as
Absolutely.
we know. And they just try to drive it into the algorithm so that they can use that as a cover story for whatever their next little gambit is. I thought that was a great word, by the way. And so that's my take on it.
Yep. We have more crazy drone footage to share and talk about. We got a super chat related to this stuff. Read it off really quickly. And there's some crazy breaking news happening right now, too, that I'm going to get into in just a little bit before we move over to the next platform. Steph, take it away.
I'm Not Your Buddy Guy says, in regards to the drones, think of Iran is to China as Ukraine is to America. This Chinese tech, and the scary reality is, from what I hear, America never saw it coming.
Yeah, that's the weird aspect of this. The United States government is saying, we don't know what it is. These are not small consumer drones. These are drones the size of cars, huge drones that are flying in there. And then residents are also reporting, hey, I'm bringing up my drone up there, and fully charged drones, the battery just dies automatically for some strange reason, as we have this clip from a local Fox News report in New Jersey.
It's right here over Picatinny, there was a drone just hanging out. I put my drone up in the air and went towards it. I had full battery life. Not 3 minutes into the flight, I lost control of the drone. Warning on my screen, lost control, and my drone started going down, dead battery.
Yeah, very strange activities. We're going to be answering that question, getting into more of it on the next platform before moving over there.
Well, here's a quick question. Mm-hmm. If this mothership is really a mothership from Iran, why wasn't it shot down already?
Yeah. Well,
that's an excellent question. Fabulous question.
Well, you saw how the Biden administration acted towards the Chinese spy balloons. Right,
which I'm also suspicious
which
of
is
myself.
which is also a very weird kind of story.
Again,
well.
I would wonder if it was it a spy balloon or was it something else that they masquerade as a spy balloon.
Yep. Who knows? But we're going to move over to the next platform. Before we do, we want to tell you about thebestpoliticalshirts.com. It's one of the shirts that I'm wearing right now. It's one of the shirts that you could wear, get active, get engaged in the conversation, and start it by simply getting a t-shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We have a lot of great shirts out there, like this Kamala Harris 2028 shirt, only available exclusively for a limited time only for the next 4 years until she runs for the presidency of the United States. This one is going to be great for Christmas parties that reads, Christmas lights are like Epstein. They don't hang themselves. A great thing to wear to liberal family gatherings, which of course will start some very interesting conversations like that one. And we have a bunch of other shirts that we cannot show you here on this particular YouTube broadcast, as of course this is a great way to not only get active, not only get engaged, but to also help spread ideas online that have been routinely censored. They can't censor your t-shirts. And when we were first demonetized on YouTube, I was like, how am I going to survive? How am I going to get money? How am I going to get these messages out there? And a light bulb went off, and I'm like, I'm going to start a t-shirt company. And that's when I started thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And by getting these shirts, you actually are an important part of a community, because you're able to find like-minded people, become friends with them, and also discern who's really not on your side very quickly with very interesting facial expressions in your neighborhood, at your bank, at your local supermarket, wherever you're going. This is the perfect way to discern who's on your side and who's not, and who's going to be your next good friend. This is a perfect way to build communities. Get a shirt right now on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Steph?
Yeah, whether you're looking for the perfect conversation starter or a fun gift for a loved one, simply want to lighten the atmosphere, this selection is crafted with just the right amount of festive cheer. Make the season one to remember. Visit thebestpoliticalshirts.com and explore the shirts that combine style, humor, and a little bit of holiday magic too. Because sometimes the best way to celebrate is to share a laugh.
All right, we're going to move away from this censorious platform that doesn't allow us to show all of our t-shirts. And we're going to move over to the next one. Before we do, David, where can people find out more information about you?
DavidWolf.com, DavidWolfe.com. You can also find me on the social medias at David Avocado Wolf, Instagram, Telegram. My Telegram is my favorite, by the way. That's when they deleted me off YouTube, I went all in on Telegram, and I brought the whole health food movement in with me, including RFK Jr., including Dr. Tenpenny and all that crew, and Del Bigtree and Mickey Willis. And
all great people.
Amazing. And what an amazing platform Telegram is. So David Avocado Wolf at David Avocado Wolf on Telegram, WOLFE.
I'm super excited for the members section, because we're going to ask both of you guys your most controversial opinion, and that's going to be a crazy show. So I'm very excited to see what Sean has to say. Sean, where can people find out more information about you?
Just go to seanstone.info. That's SEAN, Sean, STONE. Because that website has links to my films, documentaries, books, links to my social media. It's like the one-stop shop.
Awesome. Martha?
You can find me on X at Bueno for Miami.
Steph?
You can find me on Instagram at Steph We Are Change, or on X at Steph WRC.
All right, Atlas, this is not time for your WALK. Calm down there. Sit. lay down. We're moving over to thebestpoliticalshow.com. We're on the front page of Rumble. Support independent media. Continue the conversation, and it's going to go on for yet another hour in a fully unfiltered way. Already, the conversation has been very bombastic and incredible. It's only going to get more incredible from here. Go over right now, thebestpoliticalshow.com, as now, officially, we are